No one is impressed with your possessions as much as you are. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean when I'm driving that GLE that I'm the only one impressed by it? I mean, people are supposed to be impressed by it, but turns out in reality, nobody really cares. So most people don't hate their jobs. They actually hate that they cannot control their schedule. And why can't they control their schedule? Money. Hi, lovelies. Welcome to today's episode of the Corner Seat. If you are new here, karibu sana. My name is Rozitta, and I'm so grateful that you get to join me for today's episode. If you've not subscribed, please make sure to subscribe at the end of this video. And of course, like, share, and drop a comment. Let me know what is going to resonate with you from this episode, because I'm going to be talking about financial lessons or tips. Let me call them tips that I have recently come to learn in my research about finances. If you watched my very last episode, I talked about how I'm very intentional about my finances at this stage of my life. And of course, with that comes a lot of research, a lot of studying, a lot of listening to people, basically getting the know-how, the knowledge, and of course, knowing the practical aspect of it. So today I'm going to be sharing with you the tips that I have learned. And this episode is inspired by The Psychology of Money, the book. If you know the book, I'm probably going to link it somewhere in the description box for you to read if you'd be interested. Yeah, and let me tell you, that book has changed my mindset. It has turned around my whole view on finances. And I'm thinking to myself, if this is one book, if this is what I'm getting just by reading one book, how much more if I read 10 or 20? I'm even scared of who I'll become, but I'm going to become anyway because I am very intentional about the person that I'm growing into, especially financially. All right. So let's just delve into the topic. And the very first tip that I learned is that financial success is actually not hard science. It's more of a soft skill where how you behave is more important than what you know. Now, I'm going to let that marinate for a few seconds. How you behave is more important than what you know, because most times in my own experiences, I have known things and not behaved differently either way, if that makes sense. For example, I know if I don't drink water, I'm going to become dehydrated. And then I don't drink water anyway. Now, that is what I mean. What you know is different from how you behave. So basically, between the two scenarios, how you behave is more important than the know-how, than the knowledge that you get. And this point was shared because the author was talking about how most people have so much knowledge on money, how to grow money, but how they behave towards money is what deters them from their financial success. For example, you know you shouldn't be a spendthrift, but you spend anyway. You know you shouldn't spend money you don't have, but you spend anyway. You know you shouldn't you can save money by not eating out every single day, but you do it anyway. So that behavior towards your finances is what is going to keep you away from your financial success. And let me tell you, this hit me so hard because I have been that kind of a person for, I think, the last two years. Let me say 2 years, because I have been telling myself that retail therapy is my thing. When I'm stressed, when I'm not happy, when I'm bored, I want to go spend money. And I do that. I've been doing that. And then I come across the fact that if I want to have financial success in my life, I need to know how to behave with my money. Just because I have money does not mean I have to go buy an extra set of lipstick. I could use the same amount of money and either buy stocks or buy shares somehow find a way to grow the money. And honestly, I don't know why it sounds so simple, but it came as a shocker to me. Like, wait a minute. Okay, so ever since I came across this tip, honestly, I've been very, very conscious about how I spend my money. I'm doing the mathematics. Is it cheaper for me to ride a boda boda, to use a matatu, or to drive? What do I do in this situation? Do I just buy KFC, or do I go cook rice at home and enjoy my dinner? I have been constantly doing a lot of mathematics, and in the end, I'm realizing I'm actually saving a lot of money, and not saving so that I can see it. I'm saving money to use as capital somewhere else that can grow the finances. The other day, I was buying the Safaricom minutes. I always buy 500 shillings worth of minutes. So that comes to 455 minutes. Yeah. And then recently, now when they expired and I had to buy more, I thought to myself, do I really use 455 minutes on phone calls per month? And I did the math and I was like, I probably barely used 200 minutes. So what I did this time round, I decided instead of buying 500 worth of minutes, 500 shillings worth of minutes. Yeah, makes sense. I'm going to reduce that amount to 300 and I get 188 minutes worth of phone calls. I have saved my money and I'm going to be able to utilize it better. And I'm so proud of myself. Like, well, my point is recently I've really been conscious about how I behave rather than what I know. So you need to find a way to balance what you know and how you're behaving. Remember, when you know better, do better. The doing better is the behaving part. So yeah, throwing the ball to your court. How are your behaviors towards your finances? Do you feel unsettled every time you receive an M-Pesa message or somebody has sent you 1,000 bob and you feel like, oh my God, where do I go spend this money? Like, do you feel restless at night if you have money within reach? Can you have 5,000 cash next to your bed and sleep peacefully without wondering, where do I go spend this money? What do I buy next when I wake up? Or what do I order from Jumia? I want you to analyze your behaviors, and I hope it helps you transform how you behave towards your finances. So that was the financial tip number one. Tip number two that I came to learn from the psychology of money is that there's only one way to stay wealthy. That is a combination of frugality and a pinch of paranoia. Let me explain before you go like, oh, you shouldn't live in fear. It's completely different. Let me explain. So, one way to stay wealthy is frugality and paranoia combined. And that is probably what differentiates between somebody who's wealthy and somebody that is rich, which is something I just recently came to learn. Because I always thought if you're wealthy, it means you can spend as much as you want without dipping your bank account or without having to wipe out your whole account. That is what I thought. But I learned actually the wealthy hoard their money. That is what we're talking about, frugality and paranoia, and have paranoia in the sense of what if tomorrow I don't have this stream of income? What if tomorrow stocks go down? What if tomorrow there's an economic crash? What if tomorrow that having that what if helps you stay wealthy, not become wealthy, but stay wealthy. So combining frugality and that paranoia of what if tomorrow I need 100 million and I've just spent 50 million today purchasing a new car. What am I going to do tomorrow? It does not mean you deny yourself the things that you require. It just means you have it at the back of your mind, a what if, so that as you're spending your money, you're spending it wisely. I remember there's a time I talked about finances. I think it was on social media, and I had just learned another tip, which is going to be my next tip. And that tip is before you purchase something, ask yourself if you can afford two items of the same thing. So if probably you want to buy, let's talk about like what? A microwave, can you afford two? If you can comfortably afford two and still have an excess of money, then go ahead and buy it. But if you can only afford one, probably you need to hold before making that purchase. Basically, the point of this tip is to help you avoid spending money that you don't have, which is the fourth tip. I feel like I'm just preempting myself. Okay, fine. I'm just gonna go with it. So, uh, it helps you not spend money that you don't have. And this is something I've always been told. My parents always told me, don't spend money that you don't have. I didn't understand what it meant until the recent past. Yeah. When I came to understand spending money you don't have is probably thinking, oh, yesterday I made a deal, so they're going to pay me tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm going to have money. So let me use the money I have right now to make this purchase. And you're banking on replenishing that amount of money based on what you're going to be paid tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and they don't pay you. And then you're in trouble. That is what it means to not spend money you don't have. Yeah. Okay, I feel like I'm really preempting myself. I'm getting a little bit excited. Okay, fine. So those are how many tips? I think those are 4 tips. Let's what is it called? Let's do a run through again. So the first tip, remember, what is the first tip? I'm forgetting. Okay, so the first tip is how you behave is more important than what you know. The second tip is if you want to stay healthy, use a combination of frugality and a little bit of paranoia. Number 3, don't spend money that you don't have. Number 4, if you cannot afford two of the items that you want to buy, then don't make that purchase at all. Number 5, you need to understand there's a big difference between getting money and keeping it. So most people know how to get the money, they just don't know how to keep the money. And that is what differentiates you from somebody that's what differentiates somebody that's living hand to mouth to somebody who knows how to get the money, keep it, grow it. I listened to Just Ivy on one of her interviews, and she said the main things that you need to know about finances. One is how to earn the money. Number 2 is how to keep the money. Number 3, how to grow the money. Number 4, how to protect the money. So most people basically know how to get the money. They know how to earn the money. They're going to do this gig. They get their money. They're going to get this job. At the end of the month, they get a salary. They know that. We know that. We know how to get the money. What we do not know is how to keep it, how to grow it, how to protect it. And that is why I'm saying there is a big difference between getting money and keeping the money. And in keeping the money, that's why you're growing the money, saving for retirement, whatever. That's a whole other topic. So if you're the kind of person that only knows how to get money without knowing how to keep it, then I hope that tip has opened up your eyes. Big difference. They say Jews are the number one in the whole world when it comes to knowing how to keep money, which is what makes Jews very, very wealthy. But Africa apparently one ranks very low on the list as not knowing how to keep money. Yep. So this is a wake-up call. As much as we are earning the money, let's know how to keep the money and to grow the money as well. And number 6, I loved this one. This one blew my mind. So number 6 is the highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want to do today, which is what I have always wanted. I just didn't know how to coin it because I remember after I was done with high school, I knew at the back of my mind that employment was not my first choice. Yes, I would take it, but it's not like my first choice. got into campus, graduated, tried to get a job, quit from the job. And that's when I knew I really just want to do what I want to do today. But now that is where the highest form of wealth comes in, being able to say, I'm going to do whatever I want to do today. I was like, oh my gosh, so what I desire is not really doing whatever I want. What I desire is just to be really wealthy so that I can be able to do what I really want. Which leads me to the second tip, and that is controlling your time is the highest dividend that money pays you. Mind blown. Look at yourself. What is the number one thing that hinders you from controlling your time, controlling your schedule? I don't even know you, but I know the answer: money. Money will make you wake up at 3 a.m., go look for it, come back home at 12 midnight, at 10 p.m. You hardly meet your family, hardly meet your kids. Your kids never see you because you're out there looking for the money so that it can help you control your time. So the reason why you can't control your time is money. But if you have the money, then the highest form of dividend is like, let's say, a return. The highest return that money is going to give you is being able to control your time, which is what we all really desire, but we just don't understand how do we get there? How do I control my time? Money. That one also really made me laugh. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is so true. And I'm gonna combine that with the next tip, which is doing something you love on a schedule that you cannot control can feel the same as doing something that you hate. Remember, we've said money helps you control your time. Now, if you're doing something that you love, let's say, for example, you love being a hedge fund manager. You love it. It's your career. It was your dream. You love doing that, right? But then again, you cannot control your schedule. So back to back, Monday to Monday, you're at the office, getting clients, managing funds, growing funds, closing on the losses and stuff, and so much more. If you cannot control your schedule, at the end of a month or a year, you're going to feel like you actually hate your job. So most people don't hate their jobs. They actually hate that they cannot control their schedule. And why can't they control their schedule? Money. I'm being dramatic, right? Okay. So this just made me understand a part of me because I've always really loved to control my schedule. I've always wanted the freedom of waking up when I want, sleeping when I want, going out when I want. I mean, I've never wanted to feel like I'm on somebody else's schedule. And now I understand what I really need to work on is my finances so that they can help me control my time. That was so eye-opening for me, honestly. At this point, I think you really need to just go read that book for yourself so that these points can hit closer home or can be elaborated better and help you understand them better, basically. Yeah, I've lost count, so I'm just going to keep reading the other tips that I have written down. And this one was very life changing. So this one is if you think that a big failure, if you think you have failed a big failure, then you need to know you're working on much bigger failures right now. So some of them are going to make the present failure look like a tiny little blip. Let me repeat that. So if you think the failure that you're dealing with right now is a big failure, you need to know that at the back of your mind, you need to know that you're working on a much bigger failure. And in the future, Present failures are going to look like a tiny blip compared to the present failure. So, what this basically helps you understand is don't beat yourself down because of the failure that you have encountered right now. For example, this story was talking about Amazon and how it launched various products, so many of them, and many of them failed. Many of them, I don't want to say a number because I might be wrong, but many of them failed. And we only had the Prime, I think Prime Video and one other one succeeding. Only two of them succeeded out of the very, very many projects that Amazon had. But in hindsight, two of those projects that succeeded superseded the failure of all the other projects. So basically, I think it was the CEO was saying that the failures we have experienced right now, they're nothing compared to what we could experience tomorrow. And the failure of tomorrow could seem bigger than today's failure. So let's minimize the size of today's failure and just get the courage to move forward. And if we fail tomorrow, you repeat the same thing. Not forgetting that the success you could get could be much bigger than the failure that you think you have gotten. So let me find a simpler way to explain this. Let me use an analogy, yeah? Let's say, for example, you have decided to start trading stocks, yeah, and you decide to start with 50,000, right? And you probably decide you're going to put 25K in company A and 25K in company B. And then company B makes huge losses and you lose everything. But company A makes a huge profit and you recoup the 25K you lost in company B and get more profit in that. So basically, the failure that you have made today from company B is incomparable to the to the success that you've gotten in company A. I hope I'm making sense. So basically, I think the bottom line of this point is whichever financial failures you make today, don't let them withhold you from trying again. Because that failure today could seem very little tomorrow. But keep going either way. I hope I've made my point. Keep going either way. Yep. And then next point, this one made me laugh. This one made me laugh. So the next one is no one is impressed with your possessions as much as you are. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean when I'm driving that GLE that I'm the only one impressed by it? I mean, people are supposed to be impressed by it, but turns out in reality, nobody really cares. So this one delivers you from one, the disease of thinking you want to show off your money. And in that sense, you get to control your purchases. Do you really need that jelly right now, or could you get it at a future date? And right now, you could probably get something else that will still serve you. That is one thing that this point delivers you from. And number two, it helps you understand what is more important than showing off your money, because most people apparently who are trying to show off their money and underline show off their money, what they are seeking is respect from society and attention from society. So, in other words, this is to tell you your possessions are not going to earn you the respect that you're hoping to get and the attention that you're hoping to get. Change your focus from possessions to experiences and relationships. That is why there's a huge difference. So the author was explaining that every time, even watch anybody who is driving like a big car, you are not even going to see who's driving it. Most times, you're going to look at the car. Why? Not because you're wondering how did they get there? They must be very wealthy. Oh my gosh, he must be a very important person. That is not what you're going to be thinking about. What you're going to be thinking about is, I want to get to that level someday. I want to be able to drive such a car. someday. So what you're thinking is gonna impress other people is actually not impressing them. It's just showing them who they wanna what they wanna have in their future. So if you're buying possessions to impress, this is your sign. Don't do that. So yeah, that made me laugh. Honestly, I was like, this is so true, because each and every time I see like a fancy car, I don't even care about the driver. I'm just like, oh my gosh, that car is so cool. I want to drive it someday. So I've not been impressed by you. It's the car that has really got my attention, and not in the sense of making me covet it, but inspiring me. Well, if you want to inspire people, go ahead and buy all the possessions, but keep in mind that no one is as impressed with your possessions as you are. Bottom line. I feel like I'm going to end this video right here because I'm getting too excited, and probably do a part 2. So we are going to do a part 2 next week, and you better stay tuned for that. In the meantime, let me know what point has shocked you, made you laugh, changed your mindset, opened your eyes, whatever it could be. Let me know what it is that has really caught your eye down in the comments. And if there's any point I've said that you feel like, oh my gosh, this is so true, I want to know your experience with regard to that point. So yeah, those are today's financial tips. Thank you so much for watching. And of course, if you've not subscribed, kindly go ahead and subscribe. We are almost at 4K subscribers. Oh my gosh. Yes, so let's get there soon. And of course, share this video with somebody you love and care about, and somebody you want to see them prospering and succeeding and knowing how to manage their finances. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you on the next episode. Bye.